My name is Manohar. In this section of video, I will go through identity and access management on different or major public cloud. Uh, so for the cloud, users can connect to the resources through internet. We already know that one. So when data is moved to the cloud, it is imperative to have control over who can access it. So identity and access management, which is known as IAM, is the solution to ensure that security, accessing cloud resources. So let's go through that one. First, I'll connect to AWS. Then I'll soon show you the similar topics or through Azure, then GCP, and after that finally OCI. So let me connect to AWS console. So here I have connected to my AWS account, but I am connected as a that root user. So but I will show you how you can create user and then group and policy and roles. This is the main four things. So each when we get AWS account, each account has a root user, which is that unique name based on your normal email format. So if I search IAM, so IAM stands for, as I mentioned, it's identity and access management. So if you go there, you know that under access management, you will see the groups, users, roles, policies, and these are the main parts. So first, that let me talk about what is that user. User is kind of that is a person or an application that can log in using username and password. And when I'm talking about application, that can be access key ID and secret. Then it's coming that user groups. So groups are collection of users that when that thing that the people who are working the similar work, so then you can put them in a group. So this is always better to management perspective. Like if I put someone in a group and if I privilege the user to that group, so if that user leave in future, we can just remove that user. So next one here is the role. So role is a collection of next here role is a collection of permissions. So what is permissions? Permissions is actually it's giving what kind of operations that allowed, but where I have to define the resource. So it's mainly it's that defining what operations that a user can do under a resource. So let me go through here that if I go to users groups, as an example, that there are different services like storage or EC2, like which is Linux VM or Windows VM. So you can create a group. When you create a group, then it's coming in. If you create a group like GRP01, as an example, you can give a group name. Then under that group, you can attach any user if you created users before. And then it's coming attach permissions and policies. So what is policies? There are different policies sitting there that can be AWS managed or customer managed, and you can assign those policies and that under that particular user, like create group. So then you can create group. So this is high level. I am just giving you an overview so that you can get understanding. So I'm not going through all this to create group, create users. There is another video. I will share that down below so that now it's coming users. If you go to the users, so here you can just yeah, from the console you can create a user, add users. So you just create a username, like paste USR1, and then you see that there is options that you, if you would like to give a management console access, like console level access, then click on next. And then you add users to a group, like which group you want to add that user, particular group, like is that for backup, is that for the storage management. So you can define that one. Then you can put boundary, then go ongoing. So all those permissions you give for a particular users. Now if I cancel this one, now let's go to one user and show you something. Cancel, cancel. Sure, you want to leave this kind page? Yes. Now, if you go to any particular user, you will see that I have given this, different groups is allocated. Now, from here, if you'd like to change permission, you can do that one. You can add additional permission. And then if you'd like to, that credential, security credential, like, to give a management console access, you can go to, security credential page, and then you just, give like all those console access and password. So whatever you want, you can do that on here. Other option is like multi-factor authentication to assign, that for security purpose, it is always recommended to use multi-factor authentication. So you can do that part here. And for that whenever sometimes we may need to go to all those developer perspective, you would like to run through PowerShell script or CLI, or um, all those apps related. Then you can, what you can do, you can create an access key. Normally that's two access keys allowed, so create, and you can also delete the old one. So create access key. If you create access key, then it will ask you like that which type of operation you would like to do. Like an example, command line operation. Then you just give understand the recommendation, click on next. When you click on next, then you give him value like best, and create access key. When you create access key, it will be, you see that one time. So like you'd like to set up CLI, then it will prompt you to pass the access key and secret access key. So you can take a copy, because under that you cannot retrieve this value. So you can download that one as a CSV. Done, but I'm going back. So cancel. So now other option, let me go through roles. So roles, as I mentioned, it's kind of you giving permissions, what kind of permission you can allow to do that. So, like if I go for particular network, anything here. So let me go elastic bean. So you can see all the roles there, what it can allow, or what is allowed under there. You can get those information from here. Now let me talk about policy. After that, policy, what is policy? So if I go for policy, let me search. You will see different different type of policy, like customer managed, that means customer created that one based on your own requirements. Customized one, then there are heaps of policies, which is AWS management. So you can get that information. As an example, network administrator, if I click there, you can see that JSON file. So policies can be that managed policy or inline policy. So managed policy is a kind of it's a default policy. You can attach that policy to various entities into your AWS account. And inline policy is created by a customer and embedded into single entity, as that I can say. So now, if you look here, then you will see that there are different sections. Like you see the version, then statement. Under statement, it can be effect like allow or deny, and what kind of operations are allowed. You see that, yeah, it's like services and the options, like easy to delete subnet, easy to delete text, easy to delete PC, and then resources. That SNS. Simple notification service, what it can do, like under this network administrator policy. Then you can see another resource, an action. If you go down, you can see most of them. Then there is the other section like the condition. If you'd like to put a condition, you can do that one also. So now let's go through, we have, I have shown you that the good understanding, like, what is groups, what is users, what is roles, what is policies. And now let me go through like similar concepts in AWS, like Azure infrastructure. So let me connect to Azure console and to show you how that actually work on Azure. So here I am connected, on Azure console, and Azure Active Directory is an IAM service provider from, that Azure level. So Azure AD is a identity system that we use to connect, Microsoft 365 and other SaaS applications. So for that, what you can do, you can search for Azure Active Directory, or if you recently used, you can see that from here. Otherwise, you can go also from this hamburger menu in Azure Active Directory. So here you see that users. So if you click on users, then if you try to click on users, you see that there are two options like new users or invite an external user. So that new users, if I go there, click new users, options is there. Like you see that uh, you can select is this users will be Active Directory user or guest users. Um, so that's the option here. You can just give all this identity, principal name, information, give any other properties you would like to add, then click review and create, and create that one. So I'll attach the video link where you can go through that lab session. So go back here. Okay, similarly you can invite external user, so you can create another external user who can join here, you know so like give all this information and review and invite, and it will create another user. So now let's go back. After creating the user, you can see that from here, like user types, like which type of users is that one. If that is a guest user, you will see that it's a guest user. Then again you can see that is that on premises, based on premise, that sync or not. You can also see that status from here. There is other option like when you do create a user, there is option like bulk operation. So bulk operation, it's kind of we like to create a bulk numbers of users. So you can download the template, like you see the download option. You can download the template and fill that on, then upload that to create a users. Now let's talk about cancel this one. Next is here you see that groups. So similar concept, that you can create a group and then you assign a user to that group. So like when you create a group, then the option that here group type, you can select group type. What that will be, either that will be security or Microsoft 365, that you can see here. Then other option, if you download, you can give a group name you would like, that it's a backup group, it's a database group, it's an application group, it's a monitoring group. So define that one. Then membership type, because this is a free tier account, therefore I can only see assign. But other options there, that can be dynamic users, or that can be yeah, many dynamic option is there. So you can see that one, that option is there, and you can select that one. So let cancel. So next concept is coming, that Azure level, that there is a management group. So management group is kind of that you have created resource group. Let me go to resource group. And then you can create more groups underneath that one. It provides a level of scope, above subscription level, and it's targeting of policies and like kind of spending budgets based on subscription, per group. So for that, what I can do, let me go to policy. So its policy is also coming there, under IAM category. So here, if you go to policy, then you can see, what the policy is. You can allow, resource type, like for a particular user, that service to create, assign, or manage policies, like specifying which type of resource a customer or a group can use that one, or you can define, virtual machine, specific type of virtual machine that can be created by a particular groups of user. Other option can be like you allow the location, like okay, only allowed to create a virtual machine on particular region, or that can be like also locations. So if you see here policy, there is a definition and assignments. If I click on definition, you can see there is a policy. Definition can be that built-in policy. You can also do custom policy, and you can filter based on scope area, definition type, category, or search. Like if I backup, then you can see only that backup category. So it's mainly if you go like any specific policy, you can see it's simply a JSON file. um, Now go back. So it's a policy definition, and if you'd like to assign a policy, then you see that there is an assignment, and from there you can assign a policy. Click on assign policy, and you can assign which level you would like to assign. That can be subscription level here, and that can be also you can define to resource group level. So cancel this one. Now here, so let's go to role level. It's not here. What we can do, we can go to resource group, and then go to IAM. You can get this IAM into different place. So now we are talking about, as we know, that role is a collections of permissions. So it's here, in Azure level, you will know that access to Azure resources is managed by known as a role, like RBAC, which is role-based access control. So there are, let me go there. Here you see that under that resource group, if I go to access control, then here down below you see the sub tab options. You can see that role. So if you try to create, like there are mainly if I say, you can see that there is a owner, there is a contributor, there is a reader, and others are, you can think of users access. So there are categories also there that you can find. So owner is that perform all actions on all resources, and contributor can perform any actions as owner can like manage, except managing rollback access control, and reader can perform or read actions. And when I'm talking about user access administrator, and that can manage users access to Azure resources. So other rules are also provided, different granular management of access. So what we see here, in case of Azure, there are two things, they are separate. Think that Azure RBAC roles and Azure AD roles. So Azure AD is Active Directory role. So that Active Directory is to manage access to Active Directory resources. So that is users and groups. But when you are talking about Azure RBAC role, so it's mainly accessing Azure resources, Azure services. So and that can be specified, different multiple levels like management group, subscription, research group, all those informations here. So I think you got a good understanding so far, that for like on AWS and Azure clouds, like what is IAM. So so far, we saw that um, users, groups, roles, and policy for both of them. Now I'll go to um, GCP console and show you how actually IAM works there. So let me connect to GCP console. So here I have connected to GCP console. So let me search for IAM. It's already here. If I go to IAM, so as I mentioned, for key term for IAM is mainly, that users, groups, roles, and policy. These four things. So here, if you see that to create a users, you will see from here that if you go there, IAM console, it's a grant access. So if I go there, so first thing first here is that normally we know that we put user's name. So it's here it's giving a new principles like what the name you want. So but here you have to pass the email address. Like if I put like mm, honor, it will not works. Like if I put that one, you can see that it will ultimately not works. So mono or Moku. So you need to pass your email address as a principal name. Now it's coming, there are different types of members. If you look here, that you add one or more of the following. So it can be Google account, which represent any users with an that email address. Then it can be service account. So service account is an account that belongs to a thing that is an application instead of individual end users. There are other things that it's talking about that can be Google Groups is then Google Groups. So Google Group is a name collection of that Google accounts and service accounts. The other option is here Google Workspace domain. So Google Workspace domain, it represents a virtual group of all the Google accounts that you can see here. Next option is here is that you need to assign a role. So roles is the roles you want to define. So if you click here, you can see there is a different role. So it's mainly which operation can be performed on a specific resources. So there is a use that is a basic roles. So under the basic, now basic roles are the most limited options. There are three types actually: basic, another one is predefined roles, and custom roles. So predefined roles, that Google already put many roles in place, that one. And custom roles is you would like to make it custom roles. So under basic, so if you look here, then there are three options actually there. So these are known as primitive role. So which is the owner has got full access to most Google Cloud resources. Then you see that there is an editor and there is a viewer. So editor is that deploy application or modify code, configuring services as an example, and viewer is just kind of a read only access. So you give that permission, like if I give that, like again, if you'd like any specific one, you can just give storage. Under storage, you can see what options there are. Like if you want to compute storage, that means you can select that one. Then there is the additional condition, like time condition, what kind of condition you want to put. So like you can give a condition name like cond 01, and then you can put condition type, like is that based on time or based on resource service, which type of you want. As an example, day of the week, you can give day of the week before or on, give a time before or after. Then you give, before day of the week, give a time zone, you can select that one. So like if I go with just select something and choose the time zone. I go with +10. Oh, they're not sequence. Okay, keep that one. And then you can add, multiple condition that can be based on service, and click on save. So um, and you can save here, so it will create a rule, create a principal. So let me cancel that one. So what I'm saying, from there you can see that now if you so this is I am create a users. Now if I go to policy roles here, let me search for policy. Now before that policy, and let me talk about groups things. So how policy works, let me open a dockers for that one. So if you stuck anywhere, you can get or go through documents like respective cloud documents. You will get more information on that one. So far, we know that AWS and Azure, we know that we define them like principals, like which you know that it's a users, and then we are defining roles. So policy is coming. You see that allow policy, known as allow policy or policy. It's coming like a principal, binding a principal or identity to a action of a resource. So combinedly they known as policy. So I think so you know that one now how that works. After that, let me go back to console again. So we saw the account. Now there's a known as when we grant access, we saw that there's an option for service account. So now let me go through service account. So for that, cancel. Here you see that service account. Click on service account, and there's a create service account. So you can create a service account. Just a 01 is getting that one. Create and continue. Then it's coming grant the service account access to the project, what type of role you want. Then example, if I give only a basic owner, you can give that one. You can add another role, then continue. Then you can grant user access. If you want to grant this access to a particular user, you can do that here, or you can do that later. As an example, if I click on done, so you just create a service account. Now if you would like to add that one to a particular users, so what I can do, as an example, if I go to that service account, then under advanced settings, you can customize that one. Then here permission, you can grant that access to a like separate user or another users that you want to give permissions. And to delete, you just select there and click on delete, so it will delete that service account users. And I'm user same, like if you like to delete any users, so you just give remove access, it will delete that one. So far we saw that users, we saw the policy, and then we saw service account, and now what is left, we can go through another option is here, that roles. Now look here, with roles there is customs roles, and there is also that access different types of roles here that you can go through different levels. So if I try to create a role, so you give a name, just me, and give a permission, which level of permission you want to give, and click on create. So what it is giving me a message that customs relative group, it's a information. Make sure all fields are correct and continue. So let me go through that one. So if you see here what it is giving, custom roles, relative group, permissions, and assign them to principals in your projects or organization. So you can manually select permissions or input permission from another role. And let me find that one. And now click on create. So role has been created. It's an storage admin, and you see that it's a custom role. Now next is groups. So if I go to groups and try to create a group, but when I'm going to groups, you see that one message is coming. So page is not viewable for projects. So if when you connect to GCP console after creating your free tier account, you are not able to do this group section, because this feature requires an organization. So for that, what I have done, so you have to go through some create a domain and then set that up. So here I'm not going through that part because I can put another lesson on that. So that for I bought a domain from like some domain seller, if I say, and then set that up. Now cloud architect or services, that is my domain name here. I integrate that one with my Google account. Now if I go to IAM, and now if I go to group, I can create a group here, like test grp1 group email address, something if I'd like to add here, Niti grp01 group description. You can add members, member email address, you can add another member. So when you are that you'd like to create a group, then you need to first create a project, and then you can do that one. Cancel. So cancel. So that is so far with Google Cloud. Now let me show you similar concept on OCI. So let me connect to OCI console first. So here I have connected to OCI console. So from here to IAM, you have to go from hamburger menu, go to identity and security section. So first you need to select the compartment. So select compartment, make sure you're on right compartment, because Oracle Cloud works based on that too. So here Monocle 48. If I go there, then the option is that under compartment you can see all those details there. So let me compartment and go to domains for that all those to see the components. So here domains, I'm going to the default. This is a free tier, so I'm going to default domain. And default domain, if you go there, you see that there is a users. So As we know that users are individual, or system that manage or access that OCI resources. So and then next one is group. So you can create a user from here. You can create a user, give the information, and then pass all the record information. So cancel. I'll add it to the link in description section, so where you can see the lab options. You can go through that one. But here, as I mentioned before, they're just giving an overview of how you can access IAM components from the cloud consoles. So next concept is that groups. Groups consist of a number of users who normally does same type of work or activities. Then after that, there is other concept is like if I go to security level, so there is a multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. All the cloud has got that option for the security perspective. And then other option is like if I go back to domains identity, and you see that there is a policy. So policy, as I mentioned, previously, that it specifies who can access which resources and how. So to create a policy, you can go to click on create policies, and when you click on create policies, if you give a name, uh, give some description, policy one, then select the compartment. So which compartment you want, and you can do the policy builder, with him like from here you can select, like if I select storage management, then you can select common policy. Other option is that then you give all those group or dynamic groups name, all those information, and you can see the policy statement how that will be. There's the advanced option to add key tag, and there is other option here. You see that if you don't want this, sometimes you may need custom policy, and it is better to write code. Then you can click manual editor, and you can modify that one based on your requirement. And finally, just if you click create, so it will create the policy for you. So for this is like I am, I hope that you have got a very good understanding, how to check like all those I am components, and then like user, group, role, or policy. And if you like this one, please share and subscribe. Thank you.